This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Let's do it. It is time to unleash the Wolf Pack. There he is. He's in a tunnel. Where are you? I can't see.
What's good, I'm good. I am driving home. I was waiting while you and Marcel were talking, so I at least figured I can get myself home. So I am driving home, pulling up in my driveway in like 2 minutes. So you'll see me better now. There's a cop behind me, so I can't turn my light on. So you'll have to see darkness until I arrive into
Well,
my
why don't
driveway.
you speed? No, but see, if you speed, the lights will come on from the cop, and then we'll be able to see you.
Yeah, then I'll also be pulled over for a ticket.
And then that is extra entertainment right here. Okay, folks, we got well over 1,000 people watching. Will everybody donate a couple bucks for his ticket? Will you all do that, right? For that entertainment, is it worth it or what? See, they're all ready to donate right there. We've got a GoFundMe page and everything to pay for that ticket. Is that cool?
I don't like to play a lot of games with the police. That's not my go-to right
all
there.
Right.
You know, so
all right. Well, all right, folks. I tried to bring a little extra entertainment at 12:48 in the morning, but you know, Cam's not agreeing with me here.
Nah. That's not entertainment for me. Anything involving the police is not entertainment for me. So
see, Cam unleashing his car. Cam, don't resist, brother. Yeah, Cam is going for the strippers. Okay, that's what all is coming in. So there you go. I'm sending $1. There you go. They're going to start to send money already and everything. It's a beautiful thing, Cam. You've got a lot of love and support here.
I appreciate the love and support.
Cheering for you to get arrested. That's what we want.
There's not enough money in the world for me to play those games with these police officers.
Okay, so is there enough money for Tua to play with his body again? Does he have to continue to do this, Cam? Why is he doing this to us? Why is he doing this to his parents?
That was a good transition,
Why is he doing
man. I guess he thought he was Larry Zonka. You know, 72 Dolphins were out there today. He thinks he plays like Larry Zonka in the open field. And I don't know, man. Like, I get some element of it. You're a football player, but you got to realize, you know, the situation. You just were out for 3.5 weeks because of a hit that you took because you held onto the ball too long. And now you're trying to run dudes over. You know, I think guys in the locker room appreciate his toughness, but Tyreek Hill said it better than I could say it. He was like, the first thing he thought was get down. And so, you know, if your teammates are thinking that, then you've got to be thinking that. And the reality is, it's not even like your own toughness or thinking that you want to get hit. It's your importance to your team. You know, this team is going nowhere without Tua. We've seen that over the last 3 games. If he's not out there, this team might as well pack it up and go for 2023. You know, just from what we've seen, you know, they need him. And so I think that Tua has to have better awareness of those situations. You know, and so I don't think it's like an ability thing for him sliding. Like, I think he knows how to slide. I think it's a mindset thing, and maybe it's a toughness thing. Maybe it's I want to get this first down thing. But you know, getting the first down in a third quarter of a Week 7 game against the Steelers is not worth the potential risk there. So
can I give you a stat? Let me give you a stat. Here's a stat. And, you know, maybe one day we can tell Tua this stat. Tell him that Dan Marino played for 17 years and never did that one time. Not one time.
Right.
Did he ever put a shoulder into anybody? Do you know why? Dan said, I got other dudes to do that. I don't do that shit. I throw the ball. You guys catch. You run. You block. I pass. And I don't get hit by anybody. That's my job. He understood that. And so did the rest of us. And he holds Dan in such high regard. Just remind him that that's not part of your job, dude. God.
Right. Absolutely agree. Like, I think there's a certain element, and maybe it's because Tua's been hurt, that he feels like he has to prove it to us with his toughness. I've never doubted the kid's toughness. So I hope that's not his mindset, that he feel like he has to prove something to us.
Anyway, hey, there we go.
Hey,
we go.
Better now.
There we go. We were just talking about the job of a talk show host and references in different eras. And then you have to kind of have references for every kind of situation in different eras. And that's a really difficult job as a talk show host to have that all in there. So, anyway, let's get back to it. Only a moron would question Tua's toughness at this point. But I don't know if I had this conversation with you earlier in the week. I know it was with one of you guys or two of you guys. And I said, that I think Tua does all this crazy shit because as much as you think he doesn't listen to a lot of the stuff, he still hears about it, and he's out to prove to you that he's not short and that he doesn't have a noodle arm and that he is tough enough and that he can lead up high-powered offense and that, all this naysayer shit that's gone on, and I think it all gets to him eventually, and he's like, oh, yeah, mother effer, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this. And I think that's why we see him do some of this crazy ass stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money. There's a narrative, and maybe Tua kind of tries to fool people with that narrative too, that these players don't read, they don't listen, they don't let it bother them. That's the cliche thing you're supposed to say. They do. I think Tua talked with Maria Taylor and confirmed what I've known for a while, that he keeps. Yeah, they keeps receipts. Which is fine. I don't see any issue with that. I think there's, I keep receipts. People say something about me, I will remember that. But the thing about it is, I don't let it impact my ability to do much. I don't act differently in my job based on what someone may say or not say. And I think that's the same
we just try to pressure you to get into arrested, and you did not give in.
Exactly.
You see how mentally tough you are? There you go.
Right. And so for Tua, that's the area where I think that he has to grow in, and he's young. He's 24 years old. He's younger than I am. And so that's things that you grow with in time and figure it out truly, that you have to prove nothing to no one. I think that for a while this offseason, he wanted to prove wrong the narrative that he couldn't throw the deep ball. I think that was something that was very important to him, which is why every time he would make some great passes in practice, he would let us know about it, right? Because he knows that's what the narrative was. Now, he's thrown that deep ball effectively. That narrative has started to dissipate, and so he doesn't have to worry about that narrative anymore. Now the new narrative is what has also been a common narrative is he tough enough? Can he stay healthy? Is he brittle? Now he's got to prove that, hey, I can take hits, I can withstand this. And so I do think there's a lot of reality that maybe his actions are based on, hey, proving things wrong. And I hope that he kind of grows out of that, because like I said, we're seeing elements of him, maybe not tonight as much, but over the first 3 games, we've seen elements of him that the Dolphins thought they would see when they took him 5th overall. And we're seeing elements that make you believe that Tua is going to be the franchise quarterback here for the long time. But my only big question is, can he stay on the field long enough to be able to do that?
Right.
And you're not going to do that when you're trying to run over linebackers in the middle of the field. I don't care if you're trying to gain an extra yard or two. You're trying to run over a 250-pound linebacker. You're not Cam Newton. That's not what you should be doing.
Well, I'm with you there.
Just my opinion.
No, I'm with you. When we look at the offensive line, what's up with Liam Eichenberg? Why haven't
he struggled? He has struggled. That's the reality of it. Like he hasn't.
You're being nice, by the way. You're being really nice, but go ahead.
Right. So I think we had a lot of these conversations last year with the young offensive linemen, and I think I told you this Friday when we chatted. There's the element of how much you let them continue to grow through struggles versus pulling the plug and kind of giving up on them to an extent. And so I think that when you make that call, you're essentially making a final call in that respect. And so I think they're going to give him every opportunity. He did have a couple bad penalties tonight that put them in a bad position. And, I think that they're, just like we saw today, Brandon Shell, like we suspected, was swapped out for Greg Little. There wasn't like a big buildup. There wasn't like it's like whenever the coach felt like he had enough, he made the change. Now, Greg Little's different than Liam Eichenberg, because Liam Eichenberg was a 2nd-round pick you just traded up for last year. And Greg Little was a guy you found off the street. And so there's different valuations. But I do think they're evaluating it. I think there's also the element of who do you replace them with, right? It's kind of like the idea of your backup quarterback. Everybody loves the backup quarterback until the backup quarterback plays. And then you're like, wow, he wasn't as good as we thought. And so you might look on the bench and say, oh, well, Robert Jones can't be that bad, or Michael D, or whoever else you want to say for that guard spot. But the reality is the coaches clearly think that player is not as good, and that's why they're not playing. And so they could be wrong. They could certainly be wrong. You could say, hey, yeah, Matt Offenbaum's wrong. Maybe Frank Smith is wrong. But if you believe in them, the coaches, which I know you said this all season that you feel like they upgraded in coaching and you feel like that's something that will show on these players. If you trust these coaches, then you should trust their decision-making that they feel like Liam,
they're not
even
going
through
to
his
be
struggles,
perfect. Listen, they're not going to be perfect. They're going to make mistakes. Mike McDaniel today, I like him as a coach. I don't think he was very good today. Let's be quite honest.
Yeah.
You know, the clock management, the timeouts, some of the play calls. There are a couple things today that you could say. Mike McDaniel didn't have 24 days off. I know why Tua was rusty. Mike McDaniel, you made a couple. You didn't have a good day today.
Yeah. He made the fourth down decision going forward instead of kicking a field goal. Made the game a lot spicier than it needed to be. Absolutely. I think that Mike McDaniel, with his aggressiveness, it's a situation where like he made some of these calls early in the season and they worked, and everybody's like, oh man, what did Tyreek say? Big cojones, all these different things, and then it doesn't work. It's like, what is this dude doing? So I think it's kind of give and take. But I do think there are some elements, and I have to go back and watch the film. I was really curious on why they were able to move the ball down the field with ease over the first 2-3 drives of the game. And then all of a sudden it was a complete halt. Like the Steelers, maybe they toughened up a little bit, but they still were playing a lot of that soft zone that Tua was, dicing the defense with.
Tua wasn't sharp today, bro.
Yeah, it wasn't his best game.
Go back, by the way, go back and look at the drives where they did score early on.
Right.
There were still some of the passes that were a little behind. They weren't necessarily leading, and they weren't necessarily on target. Receivers had to adjust and still make plays overall.
He was absolutely rusty today. This was not Tua's best game. They got bailed out by the defense. This is a game where if they lose this game, if Noah and Javon don't get those interceptions late in the game, we're having a different conversation. If they end up losing their fourth straight game and to a Steelers team that honestly isn't very good in my opinion, we're having a completely different conversation. So I think the narrative, it should be about the defense because they won the day. Tua in the offense kind of just got by. But that being said, it is his first game back in 3.5 weeks, and so I'm going to give him a little bit of grace, not a lot, but a little bit of grace in that a lot of the issues we saw today were Russ issues, and we did see in that first touchdown drive that they still have that up tempo, less dice of defense. They can do that when they're at their best.
Yeah, I'm with you. No, I'm not worried about Tua. I'm worried about him not taking care of his body.
Right.
That shit did not make me feel good today. His lack of sharpness, 24 days off. This is what you get. You're not,
right.
As I've said many times, when you have a gun, it's different. You can throw late. You can wait till they break because you have a gun. But when you're an anticipatory thrower, it's a matter of him recalibrating the game speed of the NFL and what he and how he has to throw, and at the windows and the anticipatory type stuff, he has to. All those things have to be perfect for him.
Yeah,
and today
smaller margin of error.
He was just off a little bit, and those little things was either a turnover, an incompletion, or an interception, and he got lucky today.
And so the reality of that is like, we're providing good context. I think that people should know, but I also think that we got to be careful and not making excuses. And so I do say that like the reason why Tua is getting grace here is because the other quarterback played worse. he was the less awful of the two quarterbacks who struggled, largely for the 3 quarters at the end of the game today. And so
did you watch Brady today? Did you watch Brady today?
I did.
He didn't look good.
And there's a lot of this is happening across the league. Aaron Rodgers too. There's a lot of quarterbacks and offenses that have struggled to score at the level that they have early on in most seasons. And so I think it's a league-wide trend, but I think for Tua in particular, like you mentioned, he has smaller margin of error because his physical skill sets are maybe not what you quote-unquote picture. But I do think that some of the positives that you can take out of this, I did like how Raheem Mostert was running the ball. Chase Edmonds has continued to struggle to catch the ball. And so I think that Raheem Mostert should be their not only their lead back should be their main, if not only back at this point, just because of the way this is going on. I did think that Teron Armstead coming back helped them run the ball better and protect Tua, particularly on that side of the field. And I do think that you see when this offense is working, how wide open Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are consistently going, and how quick decision Tua, which we saw in the first few drives when he's on point, can really make things special. So on the offensive side, that's sort of my takeaways there. And the defense, which we haven't talked a lot about, this is a unit that, has had some up and downs, particularly in the passing game. They were playing with people like me and you out there at corner at some elements of the game because of injuries, and some of their players stepped up in a big way. Justin Bethel, who is a special teams player, had played corner very, very sparingly, gets an interception early in the game to help them.
Well, he got away with an interference that led to that interception.
So I am a defensive back, so I say that was a clean play. They just tripped over their feet, let them play on. That's my view of it. But I am a former defensive back, so I am very reluctant to call PI. And then Javon Holland made a great break on. They were playing cover 3 buzz. Deontay Johnson was there, and he made a jump on a play where Kenny Pickett threw it to the wrong shoulder of Deontay Johnson, and Javon Holland just jumped it. It's a great play by a great player, and the offense didn't seal it. And so then Noah, who honestly got picked on a lot in this game, but he happened to be at the right place in the right time, and Kenny Pickett threw a poor throw, and Noah made a great interception to get his feet down. And I'm happy for him. I still think ideally you don't want to play Noah as much as you played him tonight, because he can be exposed like he is. You're going to have to figure out something to do at cornerback, because I think I'm getting less and less, certain that you were going to see Byron Jones in the near future. And so I think
you're not playing against a rookie every week, bro. Let's be honest. That helped out today. You were going up against a rookie.
Exactly. And so you're going to have to prepare. I think they're going to me, I think the trade deadline priority should be going to get the defensive back. There's, if Brandon Jones' injury ends up being significant, if he's out for significant time or even the season, you're going to have to replace him. And there's not an immediate, Eric Rowe can play that spot there, but I'm not sure if he's going to be a player who can play 70 snaps a game at this stage. They've been using him very well as a situational player, as a box safety, as a dime linebacker, and he's been good in that role at times. Can he play 70 plays? Can you get McKinley to play some of those plays? I think ideally, whether it's a safety or getting a corner, which would be my preference, you got to have somebody else out there to help to get through the rest of the season. I just don't think it's going to work with the current group. Although today they stood on their head against a rookie quarterback, 3 interceptions, and really won this team this game. And maybe their most decimated group won the game for them.
Yeah, I'm with you. They definitely have to make a move if they can for a defensive back. And Eric Rowe is a guy that'll get exposed if you put him out there too much. He was very inconsistent as a corner. He's been used pretty well to cover tight ends. Now, he did give up that big catch to Freiermuth, late in that game. But yeah, Rowe would be a guy I would be concerned about. But I'm with you. You got to get corner, maybe a pass rusher. I don't know if there's a veteran pass rusher out there that a team that's really bad and they're not going anywhere. Maybe they can, unload him or something like that. And you can pick up a pass rusher, because that's also an issue right now, man. It was nice that Jalen Phillips got a sack, but Agba got his money, and so far he really hasn't performed up to snuff, and they need more of getting after. Pickett there were times where he just had enough time to make plays. They didn't pressure him enough. What do you do in that area too when it comes to pass rush?
Yeah, I think Jalen Phillips did flash at times, but I think they need more consistent pass rush. You know what? It's tough because everybody loves pass rushers, but a name that would make sense to me, and this is not reporting, this is just kind of speculating. An old friend who used to play here, Robert Quinn, who plays for the Bears, a bad team, a team that is probably going to be sellers at the deadline. He makes a nice number. I think he's making close to 12 to 15 million, but it's prorated at this point, so you're probably paying 6 to 8 million. And he's a big sack guy. And, I think that he could be an interesting guy if they wanted to make that move. He probably wouldn't cost a ton, but that's just me speculating. I still would probably prioritize corner. I'd love for them to go try to get a guy like William Jackson
Agree.
But he's another guy where he's making a little bit of money there. And so, these are all the moves where, this is a team that for fans, I know we like to put things together like it's Madden because we love to be GMs, but their salary cap numbers with Tyreek and Teron Armstead are going to be coming up dramatically next year. And so they have to save money to be able to play for those. They're going to be cutting a lot of players coming into next offseason. And so all of this plays a factor. And they also have a tight end and Mike Gesicki, who has played better in recent weeks, but he's also making $11 million to essentially be a part-time player. And so that's another player where everybody wants to trade him, but you're not going to get great value because a lot of the league probably sees them in a similar way as we're seeing him as a guy who can't block, but can be used in certain situations as a really good big receiver. And so those are elements I'm eager to watch. We're about a week away from the deadline, so there's a lot of teams that are going to have decisions to make. How aggressive do you get? Do you just let it play out? I think the Dolphins should be a team that, based on some of their injuries, should be more aggressive, particularly on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, and I was actually, before you came on earlier in the program, I pointed out that there are 10 teams right now that are 2 games or worse under 500. And this was a week that a lot of people around the NFL have needed because there were a lot of teams were at 500 or around 500. And so you kind of needed them to separate themselves. And now they have separated themselves a little bit more. And now you've got 10 and the Bears tomorrow, they're 2-4. They could be 3 games under 500 by losing to the Patriots. So then now is when you can now start getting rid of Robert Quinn and some of these other things because you're clearly not a playoff team. So maybe you can start making some moves. So it'll be really interesting, I think, this coming week in the NFL. Not that there's going to be a bunch of trades, because there isn't going to be a bunch of trades, but there'll be a couple, I think, and there'll be a lot of talk now, I think, is what's going to happen over the next couple of days. Now teams will be willing to move, but it all depends, on the price, because you saw what McCaffrey went for, and that was
absolutely.
It's crazy.
And as we kind of wrap this up, Bo, I think that one thing is, unlike the baseball trade deadline, which, by the way, Phillies are in the World Series. Unlike the baseball trade deadline, NFL trade deadlines are often kind of a disappointment. We hype it up and say, hey, this guy get traded, that guy get traded, and ultimately, some backup receiver gets traded for a 6th-round pick, and that's the headlight.
It's too early. That's why it's too early.
There's 7 playoff teams. And so every team holds out hope. You're going to see teams. Heck, the Commanders won today, and somebody in the Commanders front office is going to be like, "Well, we can make the playoffs." Sorry, Commanders, you're not making the playoffs. But they're going to sell hope that they're going to make the playoffs, and so because of that, they're not going to sell any pieces. And so there's probably maybe 3 or 4 teams that are going to be sellers.
This Heineke's for you, bro. Come on, this Heineke's for you. Not Headley, not Lou Headley. Because this is the punter for the Canes. This is his beer, but this Heineke is for you. Come on, you don't have any faith in Taylor Heineke? Come on.
No, I do not.
No, you don't.
No.
All right, what are you working on the NFL Network so folks can check you out, my friend?
Well, first I'm going to work on a shower and a sleep because it's a long night, but I will be back on TV tomorrow for NFL Now from 1 to 3, and so we'll break down some storylines from this game, talk some TV there throughout that window, and also throughout the week, and we'll see. I probably will not be in Detroit for this game. I'm actually moving. I bought a new house with me and my wife, so next couple of weeks I'm going to be in the process of moving, not too far, probably 15 minutes away, but gotta do some things there. So not looking forward to it, but I'm excited. It's the first house that I officially bought, so it's a special moment for me and my family. So
good for you.
Gonna work the rest of this week out, and then may do a game on Sunday, probably not in Miami, maybe elsewhere, and then probably the first week of November, just kind of focus on moving and then get back into the swing of things. So good news for the Dolphins is they have the Lions and the Bears, 2 teams we just talked about that should be sellers coming up. And so ideally, if they handle business, they get 2 more wins on the docket. And when I get back to covering them, they're what is it, 6-3 team instead of 4-3 team. So we'll see.
Oh, they'll be 6-3. There's no doubt about that. I feel confident about that, my brother. Appreciate you. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Thank you, my friend. We will catch up later on in the week.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Yep.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Cameron Wolfe and our KSDT CPA post-game report.